All right. I am here with Kay Helm, my friend. I have had the honor and pleasure of getting to know Kay for goodness, got to be the better part of a decade at this point.
Yeah.
And she's a colleague of mine in the ghostwriting world. And I thought it would be really helpful for people who are considering ghostwriting or people who are currently ghostwriting to learn a little bit from Kay's story, what she does, and how she has built what she has built. So, Kay, welcome to the Get Paid to Write show, I guess, podcast, show, whatever.
Thanks, Nick. It's a real pleasure to be here. I've enjoyed following your journey, like you said, for a decade or so. I mean, it's pretty amazing to have watched your journey and how
Thanks.
you've built what you've built.
Yeah, I think when we first met, I was still practicing law and
Yeah.
like not even knowing that ghostwriting was going to be where I ended up. And then over the course of a year or two, I discovered ghostwriting and then just dove into it and ultimately was able to quit the practice of law and help a bunch of people write books and other content, and then help a bunch of people get into ghostwriting who were talented writers and gifted in so many ways, like yourself. You know. So tell everyone here who may not know you just yet, a little bit about yourself and sort of like leading up into ghostwriting, what life and business look like.
Okay, well, now I am a nonprofit leader and I'm about to transition out of that work, but I also teach missionaries and smaller nonprofits their communications and writing skills that they need to keep their donors up to date and raise the funds that they need to raise. But and I also started ghostwriting in 2020, when things were changing, but it's something that I had considered doing. I thought that would be cool to do, had no idea how to get into it. And then that was the year you launched Ghostwriter School. And because I knew you and had watched you actually take that step for yourself, I knew that you knew what you were talking about. And so I thought, first of all, I know this guy, so I know he's trustworthy. I've seen you do it, so I know you know what you're doing. You're the real deal. And then the stimulus check I think came in just the right time as well. So it was like, well, I have to do this.
Yeah,
And I think I've told you this in an email before, but it changed my life.
thank you. Yeah.
That that's writing is something a lot of us do I call it in my cave. We go off by ourselves and we write. And I also do some copywriting, so I'm used to writing for other people, and I've been on staff at different places, and in my nonprofit writing, I'm always writing in somebody else's voice, so that's something I have a lot of practice in doing. But then to make writing as your business is kind of a different ball game.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the hardest things. And that was one of the promises that you made, when you first launched the course was, you know, making it a business is a thing, and you put that material in and you're good at teaching it. And that helped me take the step. It helped me have confidence in taking that step. And
Yeah.
that's what I've been doing. It's been really been the main income producer for me since
Wow.
2020. So
That's amazing. Well, and what I love about it is like just some of the things that you mentioned, like helping missionaries with fundraising and things like that. Ghostwriting not only can be, and a lot of people don't consider it ghostwriting. They don't, oh, can I write in someone else's voice? Can I we if you're a good writer and you are really in any way relational, or if you're an empath, or if you have um, if you're just in some ways, like even if you're an introvert, not a people person on stage, but if you just resonate with people, have some good people skills, have some good intuition, all of those little things, and each of those little things can make people really effective at writing in other people's voices. And the process we use as ghostwriters to interview people, to get them to tell their stories. There are several ways that we can almost predispose the clients to be happy with the voice, because how we explain voice up front. Hey, everyone has multiple voices. You wouldn't write or talk to your best friend the way you talk to your pastor, right? So we all have different voices. So now we have to find the right voice for this book. And just so all these little things that we say help us create the voice for the book that our clients are happy with. But what I love about what you're saying and what you're describing is ghostwriting is the main income that you've been able to build over the last since 2020, and you're able to do other things as well. It's almost like the tip of the spear for a whole bunch of things like copywriting, like editing, like training companies and missionaries on how to craft their message, like all this experience that you've built as a ghostwriter and the connections you've built as a ghostwriter can complement all of the connections and experience you built in the missionary world, in the mission world, in the not-for-profit world, to come together and just make everything a little more cohesive, better, stronger.
I think each thing that we do helps to almost like cross-pollinating, the other things that we do.
Mhm.
So the writing, the copywriting helps me in the book because, speaking to the audience, dealing with their objections, helping them believe in themselves or believe they can do what the book is about. I mean, I do nonfiction exclusively, and so a lot of it is showing people how they can do something or how they can move from point A to point B in their lives. And but the copywriting, my work, as I also do copy editing,
Mhm.
and I help other people with their books, and just being familiar with the process, it's all intertwined.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess the answer might be a little different depending on if I'm talking about 2020 or 2023, today, whatever it is. But how do you find your ghostwriting clients, or how have you found your ghostwriting clients?
Yeah, I just started telling people that I'm a writer, that I'm a ghostwriter, or I'll say I help people get their books done,
Yep.
that like help you get your ideas out of your head and onto the page. Depending on you kind of reading, who am I talking to? What are they trying to accomplish?
Hmm.
I do things like help people get their courses. They have a course and they want to turn it into a book,
Hmm.
which that can help them get on platforms and speak, which can in turn give them more clients. So, you're listening, really listening is how I get my clients.
Yeah.
What is somebody trying to do? And then I go, okay, where can I fit in there?
Hmm. Well, and that's what it's so powerful. Like when I teach people how to get ghostwriting clients, like I create all this drama and I say, this is how to do it. This is the best. Just start telling people you're a ghostwriter.
That's
And
it.
that's the truth is that it works because um, I also teach to always raise your rates as you're adding more value. And so if I ask you the question today, generally speaking, what you charge for a book today, it's going to probably be different than what you charged 4 years ago and what you're going to charge 4 years from now. But typically, ghostwriters with some experience charge 20, 30, $40,000 per book or more. And so the idea is we don't need 500 clients a year to make a good
Yes.
income, right? Yeah, so even if it's 20, $25,000, you can make six figures if you just make 4 sales a year. And
Mhm.
so just having these conversations, it's almost like a Super Bowl commercial. I compare things to where, the polar bear goes down the sled and nobody knows what it's about until the end. It says Coca-Cola. It doesn't say on sale. It doesn't say buy two get one free. It doesn't say buy Coca-Cola. It just says Coca-Cola. It's just telling people Coca-Cola exists as if we don't know. But Coca-Cola needs to make billions of sales a year. So they need everybody to know. We just need three, four, five, 10. If you're writing like crazy all year, all day, and perhaps even into the evening. And so just having these conversations, getting into the rooms with people and just asking about books, helping, being helpful. I mean, it's refreshingly simple
It
if
is.
you do the consistency part.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Just keep being helpful is the other thing. Showing, it's showing people that you know what you're doing without standing up and beating your chest and going, I know what I'm doing. But it's
Yes.
you're there to help them, you're there to serve them, and you just kind of position yourself in that way. And you also talk about connecting people,
Hmm.
which, you're connecting other people, but that also helps you. And but again, it goes into, you're serving and you're listening and you're just letting people know what you do that fits in with whatever they're trying to do. And I teach this all the time with my nonprofit people. People need to know you, like you, and trust you, and that's a business rule.
Mhm.
And that's what you're doing. And because they know you, like you, trust you, when they need something, you're the one they call.
Yeah. Yep. I always want to make my name be the first thing that comes to mind when
Mhm.
someone is thinking about becoming successful, or how do I do something, even if it has nothing to do with books. If it's, hey, who's really good with Facebook ads? You know what? I'll call Nick. He'll know someone. And
Mhm.
then just Nick, 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 Nick. You just stay top of mind. And I just had last week someone get on the phone with me, and a client I'd written a couple books with. And he's like, I would love to have you help me understand a little bit about my ecosystem and like where you think I should lean in on. And we're talking, and in the middle of it, he goes, man, I think I need to write another book. And then, so just thinking of me as helpful, asking for my feedback on his big picture led to him saying, I need another book, not me saying you need another book. And so just getting those opportunities and being helpful adds up. So I love that. And so you built this business. You're now going into this full time, correct?
Mhm. Right.
Yeah. And it's been a full-time income for a little bit, but it's been a part-time job because you've been in the not-for-profit world for a bit though.
Yeah, kind of a mix of that. It's 1 year it was everything I needed. Last year was not great. I actually know there's a mistake that you don't want to make. I made the mistake. Everybody learned from me. I had a guy that I wrote one book for him, and he said, "I've got four more books. I want you to write the books. Let's just line them up and start going." And I did not really market myself because I
Mhm.
had four books lined up.
Yes.
And then he lost his funding.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and that happens. Yeah. And so
Yeah,
that's
so you
why.
don't want to have kind of a empty queue.
Correct. And when people say like, well, what do you do if like you have those four lined up and you think it's going to come? Do you still sell another book, or do you try to get it? Yes, you absolutely do. And you can manage. Like I write personally, I do have some help, but even if it's just me, I was writing 5 books at a time and everyone was happy. You just, because you're going to send something out to somebody, and they're going to take a couple weeks to get you feedback, or a week to get you feedback, and you do work on another book, and you just,
Mhm.
and it just works itself out. And so one of the biggest mistakes people make is when they get a client, they just get so excited that they just want to write that book as fast as possible and just put their head down, and they don't do any marketing. And then they look up when the project's done and they got nothing to do. In your case, that's not what you did, but you're like, oh, I just sold 5 books, but he only paid for one or whatever.
Mhm.
And then he lost his funding there. So whenever someone tells me, oh yeah, I got this idea for a 4 book sequence or series or whatever, I say, fantastic, let's do this one, and then we'll move on. And if you had another client, or you had 3 other books lined up that made you too busy to start on book 2 right away, you could say, yeah, this is fantastic. In 3 weeks, I can start on book 2. And they would have been perfectly fine with that. Like it just works
Exactly.
out.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's, for me as lesson learned,
Yeah.
and
But
it you
how
can
did it
work
take you?
you're in a
No,
different stage for every book
mhm.
at any given time. And so it isn't a problem to work on multiple books.
That's right. You got one finishing up, one starting out, and a couple in the middle or whatever.
Mhm.
And so, how long has it taken you to sort of build back up? Like when you say, "Oh, I turned off the networking, or the marketing, so to speak, piece of it, and then to turn it back on." How long did it take you to build up some momentum?
I'm in the process.
Yeah, that's
I'm
good.
in
Oh,
the
so this is just
process.
starting. This is happening now. Yeah.
Yeah, really, this is something that's happening. And I've had some health things happening too, and
Hmm.
some transitions with the nonprofit that I'm working on that's just eaten up a lot of my time. And so I'm actually just coming out of that.
Wow.
And the good news is the same guy is back. And so
So you're
so
one
at
book at a
least I'm
time and keep
starting with
going.
some. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're getting, so probably by the end of this month we'll be starting on the next book, and so we're just beginning at the end of
Yes.
this month. But that's great. But I'm not going to make the same mistake. I'm still talking to people, still getting out there to more people,
Mhm.
and I had an injury, and I literally have not been able to get out.
Wow.
And so now I'm just again coming out of that, And I've been, on Zoom with people, and I've been editing some books. So I do
Hmm.
that as well. And that's a great way, again, to serve people that are in the book world, and offered a little bit. I don't call myself a book coach, but
Hmm.
it's kind of what the opportunity that presented itself in this
Sure.
kind of gap time where I could sit at home and have a Zoom call with somebody, encourage them, and brainstorm some stuff with them and get them over a hurdle. And that's been fine. And I like doing that, but I would rather be writing,
Right. Well, and
so
that's like the beauty of what you've built and what we do is you have all these little pieces. And some people might not be ready for a book, but they've written some articles, you edit an article, or you might write some article, or hey, let's get my website up, and you might do some copywriting for them, or you coach people through an obstacle that they're, and there's all these ways to get paid to get more people into your network. And when people say, "Hey, I love your website," oh, you should talk to Kay. She wrote it for me. That person may be an article person, maybe a book person, maybe a coach person. And what I love, and I had a big health thing in October of 2022 that I'm still uh experiencing the aftermath of, but I was in the hospital for almost an entire month, and the like in and out. I was in for only a few days, 4 days, but in and out the entire month, basically of October 2022, and it like my business was still able to operate. I was still able to work because I couldn't bounce around and do all the marketing that I could, but that I used to. But ghostwriting is so flexible. You can do it anywhere. You could do the writing, you could do on Zoom. You could say, okay, let me do some small projects, articles. You could do some coaching. There's just so many ways to do it. And what I love that you've done is, you've ebbed and flowed a little bit. Yes, you made this mistake of not continuing to have those conversations when you had these lined up. But it's almost like I've had so many students. I had one student last week say, "Hey, I'm feeling a little weird. Like I haven't had a new client sign up in a few months." And but he only needs a few clients a year. So on average, you're going to go a few months without signing something. But he goes, "Yeah, it just feels a little weird." And then wouldn't you know, he just texted me 2 days ago. He got a $60,000 project. And
nice.
so like these, they just come out of nowhere when you're doing, and I put that in quotes for those who are on the audio. The projects come out of nowhere when you're doing these little consistent conversations.
That's the key, it really is. And I've got a few other smaller things lined up for the next 6 months. And so, with this guy coming back with the book, and he's somebody I know exactly how this program's going to go with him. I know what's involved. And it just provides me with a nice little on-ramp to get back in the flow of constantly putting myself out there. And that's what it is. I mean, and this is true when I'm working with nonprofits, it's true in the business, it's true,
Hmm.
as a ghostwriter, that you just have to keep out there. You have people have to hear it like
Hmm.
8 or 9 times before it registers in their mind that this is the person, that this is what you need to do, or this
Hmm.
is the person that provides the service. And so you do have to get there over and over and over again. Just continue to talk about what you're doing. And so, like, if you're in social media, just, hey, I'm working on something that I'm really excited about. I've got a lot of interest. I didn't get a paying customer out of it, but I think if you do this enough, you will.
Yeah.
Posting about, I'm really excited about this project because it challenges me in this way, and I didn't have to say who I was talking about or even
Yep.
what type of industry it was that I was writing for. And this was a website that I was doing, and just it's challenging this way, and that way they're getting to know you and the
Hmm.
types of things that you can do just
Yep.
in the way that you're writing for yourself. And so
Yeah.
I learned something from Mike Kim with the You Are the
A friend of
Brand,
ours. Yep.
and it was a like a call he did. It wasn't. I don't think it was in the book, but it was. It might be, but because I just devour so much of his teaching. I don't know where it was. I found it, but he
He's
was
good.
talking about, if you're getting business from word of mouth, which is a big part of where my business comes from, that they don't. they don't just call you up and hire you, they go look you up online. They're
Hmm.
going to see what's online and they're going to see what you're producing. So if I'm looking for thought leaders to write books for, that's a different audience than the audience I serve with the nonprofit where I'm teaching them to write and tell stories. It's a completely different audience. But I've been able to really focus on my nonprofit customers. That's what you're going to find when you go to look at me online. I have a work with me
Hmm.
page on my website if you need the ghostwriting and the editing services, but the content is for my nonprofit people because they're the ones that are looking for content.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the thought leaders, they're creating content. So
Well, I love that. So, you make money from some coaching, from some copywriting, from some editing, from teaching. Um, and that is what I love about that. And what I love about what you're telling me about, hey, I made this mistake that caused this little gap. It, the gap is filling because he may have lost his funding for the other handful of books, but he's starting up another one of them at least.
mhm,
But you still have four other streams of income to make it so you still have some income coming in. So I
right.
love that. Awesome. So if someone wants to connect with you, either to say, "Hey, this is really interesting. Maybe I could use your services," or just to get to know you, or if they want to learn from you in your mission writers course, what's the best place to go?
Everything can be found at kayhelm.com. And so it's KAYHELM.com.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks. Any final words to aspiring ghostwriters?
I would just say start somewhere
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Start
then
where you
build on
are.
it.
That's the only
Yeah,
place you could start, right?
that's it.
Yeah. Well, thanks so
Exactly. And
much, Kay.
I started at a pretty low price for that first book, but it was great experience.
Hmm.
And so I'm charging four times that now, and then the next book will be more expensive. It's
Yep.
because I'm getting better, I'm getting faster, I'm adding more to
Value.
what I
Yep.
can do for people, just like you say.
Well, and that's the beauty too. Like, what job could you go into and say, well, first of all, most jobs you get a 4-year degree that you pay for to learn,
Yes.
and then you go into the job and you get paid. And then if you like, you hope for a 5% or 3% increase year after year.
Mhm.
You've been doing this for 4 years and you've quadrupled your income from each project.
Yep.
And you probably have more projects today. Uh, you know, despite the blip
Yeah.
than when you first started, right? You first started maybe with one, and
Yep.
now you have more than one thing to do, and you're making four times for each book, and you're getting paid for four or five other different things like courses and coaching and editing and things like that. And that first book, you got paid to learn, whereas
Mhm.
you didn't need to go to a 4-year college degree and go in a whole bunch of debt. So I love it. I charged only $3,400 for my first book, and it in hindsight it was really really low, but I got paid to learn, and I just kept raising my prices, and eventually, it's significant. So
That's it. And that's a great way to look at it too. I love that, getting paid to learn. And I think you say this too, you get paid to learn about things that you would pay to learn.
yeah, yeah, I'm writing
And
books. Like, I'm
I,
getting paid to write books I used to pay to read.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Kay. Appreciate you, and I'm really excited for other ghostwriters to get to learn from you.
Excellent. Enjoyed it. Thank you so much.